Hi everyone, this is Emily Hancock on the tech team at the main library in Charleston County, South Carolina. Today I want to take you through a video on how to avoid online job scams. You should always think critically about job ads that you encounter in email or in the snail mail, but today this video is just going to focus on job ads that you encounter while actively searching on the internet. I hope that you will sit back and relax while we go through this video, which is pretty high level information, and don't worry about, struggling to take down notes if you feel like you need to, because at the end I will reference everything that I have talked about, and then you can get direct links to reports and articles and library websites and things like that. But for now, just sit back and take it in. Let's start with a basic definition. What is a job scam or an employment scam? Well, job applicants tend to think that they have been hired for or that they have just applied for a promising new job, and a lot of times they've given personal information. This can mean giving personal information for what the job applicant thinks might be training purposes or to get new equipment. Alternatively, a job applicant might be convinced to think that they have been overpaid by their new employer, but actually they've been asked to send back money that they have never gotten in the first place. So most anybody is susceptible to a job scam, but there are some basic general factors that put some people to risk of higher exposure than other people's. And they can be any of the following combination of character traits that you see in front of you on the screen. So a lot of these make sense, right? Somebody who is unemployed is more likely to encounter a job scam because perhaps they're more likely to be searching for a job in the first place. Somebody who's experiencing financial insecurity. Again, if you are having that issue, then you're more likely to be applying for jobs in the first place. So if you're seeking full-time work, that is another one. And if you're looking to work from home, so something that's flexible, might say flexible hours or flexible schedule. Also, if you're between 25 and 34 years old, you're more likely to be exposed to job scams. And again, that makes sense because a lot of people who are very active in the workforce are between those ages. And then the last and most unfortunate one is people who are unfamiliar with job scams in the first place. They are more likely to be exposed to them and even to lose money on them. So here are a couple of graphical representations. One of them is a pie chart that reiterates that over a quarter of people who are likely to be exposed to a job scam are between the ages of 25 and 34 years old. So that's a good chunk of people. And then another interesting factor is that women make up 70% of the people who are exposed to a job scam, as opposed to men just 30%. Again, that kind of makes sense if you think about people who are looking for maybe more flexible hours and for full-time work. Maybe that happens to be women more than men. So we've gone over who is more likely to be exposed to a job scam or to encounter the job scam, but who actually loses more money on these job scams? Well, if you look at this chart here, you can see that mostly people who are over 45 years old. They lose on average over $1,000, the average median amount that people over 45 lose, compared to, it's about half that if you're under 45 years old. And again, that kind of makes sense if you think about, well, people who are over 45, maybe they have accumulated more wealth, they have maybe more to lose, or maybe they are applying for jobs that have higher salaries. If they send back money, it might be a higher amount than somebody who's under 45. And sticking with who is more likely to lose money to a job scam online, this is men. So remember, women are more likely to be exposed to job scams, but men actually lose more dollars on average than women do. Again, this makes sense when you think about gender disparities and wage gaps. Men make more money, so perhaps they have more to lose than women. And a final thing that we'll go over is that people who are more likely to lose money are actually military service members and spouses, as opposed to their civilian counterparts. This isn't mentioned here, but they're also more likely to be exposed to job scams than people who are civilian counterparts. So you can see on this chart here, service members lose about $1,700, and their spouses lose about $1,800, and veterans lose about $1,900. These are median dollars lost, versus their non-military counterparts just losing $1,000. I say just 1,000, but again, that's no small number. So just be aware, this has been a heightened issue due to the coronavirus pandemic. Right now, as I'm filming this, is October of 2020. So we're still feeling the effects of the coronavirus on the job market. So moving on to websites where job scams are reported, I just have 3 listed here: Indeed, LinkedIn, and Facebook. These are just the most commonly reported ones, but there are a slew, maybe over a half dozen in total. If you check on the Better Business Bureau's website, they have a report, and again, I've referenced that at the end of this presentation, so you can look at it. But it's very interesting. Basically, the gist is wherever people are encountering job ads online, well, they're reporting that job scams are happening there. So Indeed, by a long shot, is the most frequently cited for job scams that have been reported. Almost a third of job scams are reported on Indeed. So even if you think that you're safe, it sounds like a safe website, right? Indeed. This is a trusted place, and the library refers people to search on Indeed, but it doesn't mean that it's foolproof. So you have to use critical thinking to counter any malice. What are some red flags that you can use when you are thinking critically? Well, if you need to pay to get the job, right? Back at the beginning of this presentation, we said, well, people might be convinced to think that they need to pay for equipment, or they need to pay because they've been overpaid. You should not need to pay to get the job. Sort of a follow-up on that is if you need to provide credit card or bank account information, ultimately that probably means that you are at risk of a job scam. This third bullet is one that surprised me. It's if an ad is for a previously undisclosed federal government job. So those don't exist. They will never be previously undisclosed. So if you see that wording anywhere, don't believe it. And then the last 2 bullet points that I've got here, if a job promises sudden wealth, so the get rich quick story, or if the hiring seems urgent, like to do it must be hired by the end of today or the end of this week, or if you feel like you're getting a lot of phone calls or emails encouraging you, maybe coercing you into taking a job, that's another red flag. If you think that you have encountered a job scam, if some of those red flags have gone off in your head, then one way that you can check to confirm that it has been reported is by going to something called the Better Business Bureau Scam Tracker. This is on the Better Business Bureau's website. It's free to use, and you can see I've just got a little screenshot of it on the screen for you to look at. In actuality, it's an interactive tool like a Google map that you can play with and use filters. But here on the screen, I'll just point out sort of in the top left corner, there's a find category. So you can choose to narrow down by if it's a business or a charity or something else. I've set my map at Charleston, South Carolina, but you can change that geographical location. On the left-hand side, there's also a column that has keywords. So if it's something like restaurant, then you could type that in if you feel that would be helpful. You've also got a list of scam types to choose from. Here on the screenshot, I've set mine at employment because that's what we're talking about today, although there are other ones if you're interested in those. My country is the United States. My state is South Carolina. And then you have a date range that you can choose to see when scams were reported in. So my date range is set February 13th, 2015 to September 17th of 2020. And you can narrow that down. And then looking at the map, you can see these little bubbles, and within the yellow bubbles there are numbers. The numbers represent the number of job scams reported in that area. And just like a Google map, you can zoom in. You see on the bottom right-hand corner there's the plus sign, so you can zoom in to get more detail. And then once you've zoomed in far enough, you can click actually on a specific scam that's been reported, and you can read sort of like a paragraph blurb about what happened, when it happened, who it happened to, and who was on the scamming end. Another thing that you can do with the Better Business Bureau Scam Tracker is to actually report a scam. So if you think that you've encountered one and you don't see it on that map, then you can go in, it's just another click away. This is a little screenshot of what it looks like. It's sort of a multi-step process to report a scam. But here are some things that you will be asked. The business name used by the scammer, what country was it in, what state, what was the postal code, what was the scammer's phone number, the scammer's website, and the email used, or the email address used by the scammer, and then a whole bunch of other things. You'll even enter like a little narrative style report, like when this happened to me, I was on such and such website and the ad said this and the person contacted me this way. So it's a very detailed report. It's also a good idea to report a job scam on the Federal Trade Commission's website. Again, this is a free thing that you can do. And I know it might seem like a lot to ask of somebody who's maybe very flustered or disheartened by a job scam, particularly where you've lost $2,000, for instance. But if you think of it, please do report a job scam, because it helps to prevent other malicious attacks in the community. But here I've got just a little screenshot again of this multi-step process. You can see it's at least 4 steps to fill out this report. It's very similar to the Better Business Bureau scam trackers, but it says, when did this begin? How were you initially contacted by the person or company? How did you respond to that initial contact? And then other questions it asks are related to if you lost money and who your complaint is about. Well, as the saying goes, the best defense is a good offense. So what can you do, hopefully, to prevent this entire situation from happening in the first place? Well, there are at least 3 highly recommended resources that you can go to. I'll go from left to right here. I'll start with the Workforce Development Librarian. That's at Charleston County Public Library. You can get in touch with one of them, and they can help you determine if you're looking at a real legitimate job ad or if it's something that seems a little off. They can also point you to places where you would find legitimate job ads. Along the same lines, we've got the South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce and SC Works. So these are, again, sort of like the workforce development librarians. It's just an extra layer of protection and support. Whenever you think that you found a job ad, but you're not sure if it's legitimate, you can always check with SC Do or SC Works. And then finally, we have the Charleston County Public Library's Tech Team classes and videos. So the Tech Team usually offers in-person classes. This may not be the case if things are restricted due to precautions based on coronavirus, but we have been, in lieu of in-person classes, doing a lot of videos. And this is also true of the Workforce Development Librarian. We've been doing a lot of videos that pertain to job resources or employment. And you can also search our website and search through the videos to find what you're looking for. Well, I hope you found this helpful. Thank you so much for watching. If you need to contact the Tech Team, you can contact us by email at techteam@ccpl.org, or you can give us a call at 843-805-6885. You can also get in touch with the Workforce Development Librarian by emailing askaquestion@ccpl.org. Very quickly, here are the references that I promised at the beginning of the video. If you have trouble getting to these links, you can always give us a call and we can try to email this slideshow to you so that you can actually click these links. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you at the library.